It's
So,
so easy to.
should we call the meeting to order? That says that it's 2:31, but let's go with 4:35 instead. Okay, so do I have, anybody want to talk about the consent agenda? Nick?
Motion to approve as presented.
All the seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so moved. Okay, written communications from the public? Public comment, there's nobody here, so, no. Okay, old business, capital needs, I'm really loving that hole in the wall as I walked in.
They're still working there. I mean, they've got the big work done. So they did the crane work. That's over, but there's still, trust me, a lot of drilling and jackhammering and whatnot, and sawing right behind my office wall every afternoon. And I haven't had a, progress update in a while, but
That's because they're really the one telling anything.
the big work's done. They did that while I was on vacation, and you want to tell them it went fairly smoothly.
Very smoothly. Just took longer than expected the first day. We were hoping to be done by 11:30 and it wasn't done until 2. So we had the staff room closed, administration closed, the cargo elevator all closed off. So we just had to eat our lunches elsewhere. It's smooth.
Cargo elevator or something?
No, nobody died. It was great.
That's good, that's good. How are the toilets?
They did the test, and it was very successful. They were really pleased with the water flow, and yeah.
Toilets are on the up and up.
So far, so good.
Okay.
You gotta love that.
Yeah, so they're just gonna kind of like do kind of scheduled flushes through them or something like that, just to.
I don't recollect what I said
okay.
about that off the top of my head. I didn't know whether it was a one-time, let's send a bunch of water through and see what the results were, but they were happy. They were definitely happy with the results they got.
They're the experts.
Yeah.
The toilet experts.
Not every night, like they talked about at one point.
Well, I think this is going like once a month or something at one point.
Yeah.
Wait till there's a leak again, and that's.
That's when they'll do it. Okay, furniture update, I think well, and that's just other capital needs. I went on to furniture just because as I walked in, I noticed that the reference desk is
Still standing there.
still
Yeah.
standing and abandoned.
March 10, we were supposed to, that was Monday, it was supposed to be the day the demo was done of the reference desk and the children's service desk. And then the rest of this week was going to be dedicated to putting in the new desks. There's been a delay on the laminate.
Of course.
So, we talked about the option of installing the laminate in the field rather than in the factory. And after a bunch back and forth, we decided that we would probably be sacrificing some durability.
Yeah, so that's the quality.
So we decided not to do that. So I don't have a firm date yet, but I'm told late March, early April.
So are we gonna leave things the way they are and so on?
Yeah, we
So,
did.
are you guys gonna just demolish them yet, or just leave them up until?
No, the same crew is going to be doing the demo as they're doing the installation. So
This gives staff a little bit more time to go through all of their stuff and see what we need to keep and what's disposable.
that's the bright side.
Yes.
That's what I was doing today.
But it's frustrating. The communication was terrible from Library Furniture International, and we definitely had words. It's interesting that the apology never has everybody CC on it. I got a phone call apology, but the communication was bad. It came while I was on vacation, and it was buried. So there was all these details, and the last thing was could be some delay. It looks like there's going to be delay on the land.
Why would you put that the first thing?
It should be the
In
Bold
should
should be
be-
bluff, bottom line up front, laminate,
it should be the subject line.
delay.
No, well, I would go even further than that. I would go, the subject line should say, March 10, because look, we had to let the electrician know, we had to,
Yeah.
the subject line should be March 10 date delayed.
So
Because
what
that's
was
the
their
biggest part of it.
response to the fact that they were, I mean, like, you were gonna find out that it was delayed, I mean, why wouldn't they
You know,
just-
it was just, sorry, we dropped the ball, we should have communicated that more clearly.
And that's just the contractor that Tiffany's source, it's not a company issue.
Yeah, no, it's actually, this is this was one that was bid on, I believe, so we're talking about the lowest bidder here, lowest qualified bidder, so.
And where's this company out of?
They're out of Chicago, it's Library Furniture International,
We could pull up.
and I think they're out of Chicago, but,
Possibly.
they're the ones who, and we spent a lot, they did our shelving too, you know, and I
we
told
spent
the
a lot
guy,
of money on it.
I told the guy, we spent a lot of money with you guys for the last couple of years, and the norm has been delays and errors. And you need to figure out, I said, you know, I talked to a lot of people in the Illinois library community, and I think you need to make me happy. You need to figure out a way to make me happy. Because, I mean, look, I got a phone call and an email from the director of the Normal Public Library last week. He said, you guys just did a roof project, what can you tell me about it? I said, don't hire Advanced Commercial Roofing, that's what I can tell you about it, they're terrible. He said, enough said, you know, we talk to each other.
Yeah.
And Carl, what were you?
Oh, so I mean, I'm not an attorney, so you can verify that with Mr. Klein, but I believe the law says lowest responsible bidder. So-
Responsive, I think responsive is the term, which means that they're, I don't know what the legal definition of that is.
I'm not gonna say wrong, I thought it was responsible, because at a certain point in time, if we keep doing orders for them and there's delays and stuff, that's the one that's responsible, I think. So
Let me look back at that.
Parameters to go the
Yeah.
directions.
I'm frustrated, I'd rather have it done right, but the communication was terrible.
Yeah.
The communication was terrible.
And where is this land at, Mr. Lucy?
It's gonna be, like, it's gonna have the logo and everything, it's on the front of the service desk.
Okay, I wasn't sure which one that was.
Now, this is laminate on the laminate's on the front of the service desk. Yeah, and there are all kinds of, there's also kinds of little detail issues that are being chipped away at. They're not happening as fast. That's with multiple vendors right now. And we had somebody in last week that came in and like we still don't have any, there are, the drawers in the circ desk are supposed to be, you know, lockable, and we still don't have the lock cylinders. He came with the lock cylinders, didn't fit. So, and I drove from Chicago, and, you know, with lock cylinders, we drove from Chicago with, there's a piece of I don't know if you guys have seen the light table out there in the children's area.
Yeah.
There's a strip that's dark, and he had the wrong equipment for that. So, I mean, they're gonna have to come back. I mean, we don't pay them any more money for this.
Oh, that's so
But
stupid. Like, that's
they're the
wasting
ones,
their time, too.
they're wasting their own money in this case,
Yeah.
but it's time and frustration on our side.
They've touched that light bulb 4 times.
Yeah, but now he did successfully fix some things while he was here. But, there were other things that, you know, like, it's that part of that long detailed email he sent me. He started with all these little things and then said, laminate's delayed also. Not saying that the desk installation is delayed, but, and then we had, remember with some of these, this is a different company, this is the main contractor, Thomas Interiors. Remember some of these arms were scratched?
Yeah.
He replaced all those, but I just noticed yesterday he missed one. That chair right down there has a scratch in it. There were a couple other cosmetic issues that he came and fixed. He got the powered tables in the booths in the quiet study.
Yeah.
Those are fixed. He was able to, well, here was what he wasn't able to do. So, I don't know if you guys remember me showing you or telling you that those booths have basically a cubby hole in them, that you can lift up this piece of wood and there's a little hole in there. And we're like, oh, that's not going to be any good for anybody. And yes, already we're finding people who are stashing books in there.
Yeah.
So, when somebody's going looking for the book, it's not on the...
Did not think you were in.
You spot too.
Yeah, that's the
Or
other
people put
possibility.
trash in there, you know.
Yeah, that's, so we asked for that to be, those to be sealed up, and he came with a new wood covering that would be a single one instead of two, so it wouldn't be able to be lifted up, and they didn't fit. They weren't even close to fitting. I mean, they look like they're for a completely different kind of piece of furniture, so.
You need to
Yeah,
cut
this is the
down
guy who
on
drove
all
down
this
from-
stuff.
He
Right,
drove down from
measurements
Chicago
and
to do a few things, and he was able to do some of them, but not all of them, because they sent him with the wrong equipment, the wrong supplies.
That's
So-
depressing.
So little by little, the stuff's getting chipped away at. They did fix the magnet board, that got fixed.
But they're not getting all their money until it's fixed.
Oh yeah,
anyway, so-
we've withheld
So
payment,
they've gotta deal with this, otherwise they're not getting any more money, right?
correct. Until everything is, we've withheld final payment, so until they get everything fixed, they're not gonna get that.
Woo-hoo!
You obviously things keep getting pushed further out. Do they have a projection date for when it's gonna be completely done?
Well, I'm gonna get that early this week, Carl. I think it's too late for early this week, but that's what he told me last week.
We're officially past the halfway
I'll
point.
get you a date, I'll get you a date early next week is what he told me. This was the guy I told you need to make me happy. Does this look like a happy face?
No.
So,
This is weird.
I was supposed to get a new date early this week. It's too late for that, because I haven't gotten that date yet.
Anything else?
Just like I should have brought it up during I haven't received an email or a text message about anything changing financially when it comes to whether that's the state with taxes or the state with disbursements, so everything is all right in that aspect of things.
I'm sorry, I don't think I'm following.
Yeah, we're not following
You guys oftentimes will have different things that change budgetary wise when it comes to us collecting something and or it being dispersed by a different agency, i.e. usually the city, so I was wondering, you haven't sent me an email, so I was confirming that
No.
nothing's happened or changed.
Well, no, I mean, we'll talk about some forecasting here, but nothing's changed since last month.
So do we have any other old business?
I did have some, but I'll just say it for the group. I talked to Emma. I couldn't remember. I know there was a check registry irregularity a couple of months ago. I thought I had it resolved, but it turned out I didn't have it resolved. There was another piece of it, and I forgot to follow up on that. I will follow. I've got a note. I will follow up on that between now and next week.
Okay, new business, resolutions, transfer funds.
So, something that has never been reported to you guys, and I thought it was included in our overall cash position, but it's not.
I love the
So-
Illinois funds.
Yes, so we
Yeah, I
have,
was gonna say, what's
so we have
going on with
Illinois e-pay. So, for years, our point of sale, credit card transactions, and our online room reservations, plus our online fee payment. So if you lose a book and we charge you, you can pay for that online through Share. That goes through Illinois e-pay. Here's how that works. It gets deposited. We have it's the only bank account we don't share with the city. We have a bank account at Illinois National Bank. Every dollar over $1,000 gets transferred automatically into Illinois funds. This is a fund that is operated by the Illinois Treasury Department.
Okay.
They invest these monies, and we have, as of, there's a couple hundred more in there now, as of a couple days ago, but at the end of last month, $35,720.98 in that portfolio. We can't use it when it's sitting in the Illinois funds. I'm going to ask that you guys resolve to move those funds into our capital reserve fund to go towards the furniture. 35,000 of it.
Now I understand.
Yes, all the money will,
Okay.
money
I was
will,
trying to figure out where this was coming
money
from.
will, and I will, this will be a part of my monthly report to you guys from now on. I'll let you guys know each month what I'll this statement in every month so that you guys see that.
So it's a little stash of money, but it
Yes.
has to be
Yes.
transferred and
Or we can't
coordinated,
use it.
yeah.
Right. So I had a very enlightening meeting with the, I was gonna talk about it in new business, but I had a very enlightening meeting with city comptroller yesterday. She told me the mechanics of this should be fairly simple to get it moved over if you guys approve that.
So would you say that it's amounted to this $35,000 more so because of the state's investment, wise investment, or from just a stockpiling of these search?
Combination. The return on the money has been pretty good. I don't think we've had any even month where we haven't gained money.
How long would you say this has been stockpiled of?
About 5 or 6 years.
That's a long time.
Should we look at additional, that's 6 years.
Well, so basically, we have to make, we just have to recommend it to the full board. We can't
Correct,
decide this is
correct.
gonna happen.
Yeah, and I didn't put on the agenda, I didn't put action besides that, but legally, you don't have to, it just has to be on the agenda.
Okay,
I
so
put
we'll
that on
just-
there for
so
a
we'll just-
year.
So we don't need to do anything,
So,
Well,
other than we're gonna.
well, you would need, you would need to recommend it to either vote to
Oh, okay.
recommend it to the
Recommend it
full
to
board.
the board.
Okay,
I made the motion.
okay,
I'll second.
okay, and then we all have to go through individually, starting with you.
I,
Aye. Okay, so pass, we will recommend this to the full board to move $35,000 into the capital reserve fund. Okay. Check register.
Lucy, she asked me a question. I like the way this.
Well, the one that I'm like, that's glaring at me is Midwest Tape, $104,000. I'm like, hello?
I'm gonna let Alyssa explain the most of that, but I wanna talk about the account description there. So, this is again one of our display issues. This is mostly for electronic materials for Hoopla, but,
AP services.
there's a little bit, so they also give us, we also buy some hard copy stuff from Midwest Tape, and they put all the stickers and stuff on for us. We count those as, we put those under the office supplies budget line, not the, so Alyssa, do you want to speak to the biggest chunk of this, what that's about?
Is
Yes.
this your prepaying thing?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So, part of it is that Rick wants the per capita grant to be paid off first before we go towards other funding. And it was easiest to just take that money and give it to Midwest, knowing that Hoopla was gonna eat it all up. So it's one time, this is what we're gonna do, and it's gonna sit there, and we're gonna use it up. So that was the reason why we did it that way. So we knew that in 2023, we spent $96,000 in Hoopla Instant. So in 2024, I diverted money from other print materials to make sure we could maintain the $96,000. We capped Hoopla Instant that no one would be able to see audiobooks at $3.99 and above, which was able to save us from going above the $96,000. Thankfully, between the state of Illinois library buying the database suite from EBSCO, saved us from having to spend that money. And I've been chipping away at all of the subscription services that we've had where our cost per patron use was much higher than the Hoopla Instant average, a little over $2 per use, and was able to take the cap off of Hoopla Instant. Or watching it closely, that actually helps us, because if it's in Hoopla Instant, Alex doesn't have to buy it for Hoopla Flex. So we're having to put it there anyway. So, and at the same time, I was able to give the money that I took away from print back, but we chose to hold off on nonfiction. Nonfiction still has plenty of money, but we definitely put everything back in fiction. Teens been bulked up, fiction for adult, children's got all of their funds back. So we're all very happy. And we didn't expect this. So we're like really happy.
So $102,000 of this is essentially a drawdown for Hoopla. Remember, Hoopla is a
Yep.
pay-per use, so we're paying in advance, and as our patrons use it.
I use it all the time,
Yes.
so.
So,
So do I.
We have a lot of big things on here. So it's a big month.
Yes.
My question is, I actually have a couple questions. One, out of complete curiosity, what are the credit card readers for?
That's our point of sale credit card readers at the circuit desk. So what we had before from Illinois ePay did not integrate with a cash register.
Okay, so these will still, back to the Illinois fund, still send it there?
That's my understanding.
Okay,
Yes.
even though
I'm
it's not
working through that, and I'll talk about some of that in a minute, because I met with the comptroller yesterday and found out a lot of stuff. But yes, this is an Illinois ePay. It looks like I had just exchanged some emails with, it's through Verifone, and I just exchanged some emails with them an hour ago. And that goes into the IMB, which goes into eventually the Illinois
Okay.
funds.
My other question is, on the library trust funds, I'm really skipping to the last page.
Sure.
There's a $100 check. Did we pay that or receive that?
Yeah, okay, so here's what happened with this. Diane DeVore, we paid it. Diane DeVore wrote a check to the foundation, and we accidentally deposited in our account.
Okay.
So that's more of a reimbursement
So,
than anything.
so we paid that same amount to the foundation.
Okay.
So that Diane's money went where she intended it to go.
Okay.
And then on the wall ended up being about just a little over $6,000 to repair that. And then what's the Regions credit card? It's $4,200.
It's for a lot of things. I should have brought that invoice with me. What page is it on?
It's on the second page, close to the bottom.
Yeah, it's for any variety of things. So, and that's a problem with our display here. It doesn't tell you
Oh, yeah,
all
never
the
mind.
stuff. So,
Second page,
I'll-
seventh page.
I should just make a habit of bringing the regions in with us, because there's always going to be multiple stuff on there. I can bring that to the full board meeting. I might be able to go hunt it down fairly quickly, or Michelle might, if she's still here.
She just walked past.
Yeah.
I had a couple on my usual editing thing. The first one, Treats LLC, I'm assuming that's snacks.
It is, but that's a, yeah, and.
It just caught my eye, I went, oh, that's
yeah,
snacks, okay.
We're sometimes spelling challenge.
Same.
I have a question related to that too. I've just never heard of 480 treats. Where's
Don't know, but man, they did put out a spread. It was pretty impressive. Is there a picture of that somewhere?
Oh, I don't have it, I don't have it available. Casey would probably have that. I want to say they're out of Mount Zion. I don't know why.
I'll have to look them up.
Oh,
I haven't heard of
I
it
had
before.
them for a Christmas party. Delicious.
Yeah, they were on point. They did a great job.
Looks good too. I mean,
Here you go. It's on their Facebook. That's the library name.
Thank you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was good.
And I had a question about Beck's engraving and rubber stamps. It's at the bottom of the,
That's these.
yeah, well,
It
there's
says
two.
one. Why does it say there's only one?
Well, yeah, and then on the next page, there's
What page is
4. I thought that's one heck of an
Second
expensive
page.
name badge.
That's-
Second page, very
One
bottom.
supplement.
One name
Yeah.
badge is
One
$410.
Yeah, so that's the problem with this. We can't get this to display the entire entry. It's always gonna be
Oh, gotcha.
misleading. So the only, if I don't have it all up here, and
Yeah.
90% of the time I'm not going to,
Mhm.
is me bringing the actual invoices in with me. Where's the other one? So the other one's
Well,
on
at
next
the top
page.
of the next page,
Or-
but, yeah, but the check numbers are the same.
Okay, yeah, so it's the same one, but it still can't be 7 badges, for $410.10.
That's what I thought, a real fancy one.
So let me mark the ones you guys have questions on, so that next week I can bring the entire invoice. So
I didn't know this was on there.
that was Bex, that was Regions. What page
everybody got new name badges and stuff like that, so I thought, well, maybe that was just a, you know, abbreviated, I think, but then I noticed that the check numbers were
What's a
the same.
Power Edge R250 server?
It's a server we needed for,
Just a server, probably
yeah,
take it.
it was actually for a local history database that Becky's building with Matt.
Okay.
I just have another question as to why it was billed separately as opposed to twice for the Library Association membership.
So one of them is for my name's on both of them, but one of them's actually for the institution. One's for the library and one's for me.
Because you're special.
So, I mean, technically, since we have some questions, we're not really gonna recommend this to the full board, so we don't really vote on it, right? Because we just have some
Yeah, you can
questions
certainly
to
table
answer.
it.
So we'll,
I'm surprised nobody's asked about the assistive hearing systems LLC.
ooh, I missed that one. Where's that?
I mean, it sounds like a library service
It's
to
on
me.
page 2.
Yeah.
It's on page 2. It's
Well, you talked about that a little
oh,
bit.
did I? It's a
Yeah.
hearing aid loop. So now when you're in the Madden, if you've got a hearing aid,
Oh, yeah,
you'll be
yeah,
able to
talk about
get
that.
you'll be able to get things over the P instead of listening over the PA. You'll go directly to the hearing aid, which adds a lot of clarity, and it's kind of amazing. Plus, they supplied us with some headsets too. So if you don't have the hearing aids that do that, and most of them do now, but if you don't, you can put on a headset and get it directly, which is, given the fact that we tend to skew for Madden auditorium programs, we tend to skew older. And most of this was paid for by a donation from Susan Marshall, who's a longtime patron.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to recommend we table this,
I agree.
okay?
So can I just quickly
Yeah,
review and make sure I've got all the
Yeah.
address? So we've got the Beck's engraving,
Which is on the bottom and top of the
and
page.
the regions, really that's it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because the.
I would double check
Yeah.
on the Bex one that it's not paid twice
Yeah,
in the total.
Yeah.
because on your vendor sheet, it's
It's not
only
the
listed
same.
once,
Yeah.
410.
Unless that's just a printing, but it couldn't be because
Because it says
something
1 and
different.
6, so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah, and every once in a while we revisit to see if there's a way we can get this to display in such a way so regions in Amazon, there's always more than one account that it is on, and it only shows one account. Usually that's the same with Baker and Taylor or Midwest Take, there's more than one account, and we have not figured out a way to make it make sense.
it just seems like a scary check register. That's why I'm just giving you the hoopla.
Yeah, that's
we're
the
just
big
big
one.
spenders.
But you're gonna see so much less,
Yeah,
it's-
no,
that budget line is done for the year.
yeah.
I mean, it's
Nice.
completely spent.
Not promised, but
That's a good idea.
Have yourself on there.
Okay, so make a motion to table it.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So we'll table that. Let's go on to the actuals. This is where things get good.
Yeah, so, revenue is, so at the end of February, 17% of year's past revenue, we've collected 16% a year. Not too shocking, given that we don't get our first property tax until July. I'm still, and we'll talk a little bit more about it, I'm still concerned about the personal property replacement tax. I still believe that we'll come in a couple of $100,000 short of what was budgeted again, like we did last year, and although I think expenses will come in good, they're not gonna come in as good as last year. So I believe we're going to show a pretty significant deficit this year. And I want to go through some other things before I get to what I think that means. So personnel, you can see 19% of the budget has been spent. That is not a cause for concern because January was one of 2-3 paycheck months in the year. We're right on track there. I want to point out, towards the bottom of that first page, the one I've highlighted, the security, we're still paying 100%. I have an email from the budget officer, saying he will have that fixed shortly. That
Shortly?
We will
Well,
be,
shortly.
it is a 50-50 split.
I know.
So, I haven't gone back in and checked, but I have an email sent assuring me, and his boss is CC'd on it. So I have an email assuring me he will get that taken care of soon.
So the resolution that though would probably just mean that they're going to offset the costs in months going forward. It's not like we would expect to see.
No, I said,
a check.
no, I said it has, well, it won't be a check. They'll go in, and what they'll do is they'll go in and do a journal entry, and,
Just,
yeah, and adjust it back, and when we see, and next time I run the budget report, what I should show is the year-to-date would be half of what we're showing here. It should be retroactively fixed.
your
But
month,
they
your
won't.
month would look weird, but your year to date would be fine.
Yeah, they won't actually write us a check, it'll just be taken off. And it'll free up some money.
But it seems like it's been good having the officer here in the library, just to have security.
Yeah, I think so. I think it has, and I think it's helped us with, I think it's helped the relationship with the police in general. So when they have to come, when they're not here, when the officers are not here, and we have to call the police for something, I think it's working with those guys has helped us on both ends.
That's
Our ability to work with the police and their ability to work with us.
They talk to each other, so they often know what we're dealing with, which is nice.
Yeah, so, and everything looks a little, and again, I don't have a projection yet because, I mean, I do it for myself, I'm not reporting to you because we're only at 2 months of data. But I am concerned about PPRT, and right now, that's the only thing I'm concerned about. Expenses look good to me. The other sources of revenue, it's too early to tell because the main one is property taxes, and we won't know until July. But if we skip down to the cash position, opening cash position for the month of March was $856,254.21. In the operating fund, capital reserve fund, $200,000 and change, almost $7,000 in Cantoni, $33,500 in Meyer fund, and memorials and donations a little over $6,000 for a total cash position of $1,102,988.72. Here's where my very, very early projection is that we're going to, keep in mind, we planned in our operating budget a $300-some-thousand shortfall because we moved money from one fund to another. So, but I am expecting a deficit of some $100,000 more than that, about $109,000. Okay, it bears repeating. I've said it before, but it bears repeating that a budget is a snapshot in time. We could absorb 6, 7 years of that. It's not a good idea. I don't plan to do that, but although it's cause for concern, it's not cause for panic. Also, given the fact that the Fed is predicting a reduction in the size of the economy, which means recession, that's cause for concern.
Things are getting ugly out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the stock market, the issue is, we need to make the case to the city that our levy needs to be more reflective of our needs. It's hard to raise people's taxes during an economic downturn, but here's what happens during an economic downturn.
people want to use the library.
Library, demand for library services goes way up, which increases costs. This is there is an inverse relationship between the overall health of the economy and demand for library services. 2009, we had a big year. Numbers wise, 2010,
Well,
I mean,
we've got all this nice new furniture, so it'd be good to have a big year.
yeah, so, but a big year leads to more cost.
Yeah.
And again, it's hard to, that's why I'm all for, that's why, to me, it was insane. All due respect to our council members, some of them are supporters, didn't let us capture the growth in the EAB the last 2 years. 2 years running, we had 7% growth in the EAB, and we got a 3% increase. We could have not raised people's tax rates and collected more money
No.
just by capturing the growth. And the city voted not to do that. Not just for the library, okay, we weren't singled out. But I think you make hay while the sun shines.
Yeah.
And because the sun ain't always going to be shining. And if the sun stops shining this year, what looks like it might, it's hard to go back and say, we need to raise taxes.
I'm just grateful that we do not have federal funding right now.
Yeah, we haven't had any federal funding in a while. Not directly, at least. Yeah. Well, not even indirectly for us. I mean, that grant that we applied for the furniture that we didn't get, some of that would have been federal monies.
Oh, see, blessing is guys.
There you go.
Yeah.
But I was in a meeting a couple of weeks ago with a Zoom meeting with a lot of local nonprofits and government organizations, and so far at that time of the meeting, like 3 weeks ago, nobody had any trouble accessing their federal funding. It was kind of
Day by
My
day.
daughter's
Yeah.
having issues because she goes to Georgia Tech and science is out. And since she's doing semiconductor research.
again, I want to stress that we've got our work cut out for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there will be, unless the PPRT does a turnaround, we're going to, not through any fault of our own, again, my very early, with 70% of the year in, is that expenses look good. I'm not concerned about that. There's a few places we can cut more, but if inflation, well, actually, the inflation numbers weren't too bad.
They were not, they were,
Yeah.
yeah.
So not as bad as expected, I think, was
Yeah.
the
Still not great, but not as
Yeah.
bad as expected.
Typically February it went down.
Yeah,
So,
still not great though.
it's not cause for panic. We can absorb a year like this. We can absorb a few years like this, but I don't think we should.
So
absorb
we
2
basically,
years.
what we need to do is we need to talk to the city council about the fact that we need a little more money.
Yeah, and again, if you can't sell your agricultural products internationally, that hits Decatur, Illinois pretty hard.
Yeah.
So it's much easier to, I'm sorry I keep saying it again, it's much easier to capture the growth in the EAV than it is to raise people's
I think it's
taxes.
just hard right now because there's literally every day is a different,
Yes.
what the hell is going on.
Yeah, you can't make plans.
Yeah, so I think it's hard. I have hope that soon, hopefully things will maybe settle down a little bit and even out. I'm choosing to believe that because that's what my anxiety can handle. So,
I'm kind of hopeful with this new ketamine revelation that we will soon have one of our problems gone.
Well,
I don't know.
it's,
I think it's just hard to, again, not panic, definitely need to be aware, definitely need to plan, but not panic because you could be panicking today, like at work with the tariffs. Literally every day's a new day.
Swing.
Yeah, every day's a new day. And by the end of the workday, it's been over.
so that's why I do think, it's, at this point, maybe it is, you talk to city council members and you make your case, and, but here's the one question that, when I was talking to staff about this, I had a couple staff meetings yesterday, and I try to be open and transparent about this kind of stuff. The question is, okay, hey, how do we have all that reserve money anyway, if we're underfunded? And my answer is, that's the reason we have the reserve money. We put away, when your revenue flatlines for years, I'm not going to go have new initiatives and hire a bunch of new people. I'm going to say, I better be squirreling away the money.
We were also squirreling our money for specific things. I mean,
Correct.
we talked about getting new furniture and revamping the library in a much more dramatic fashion than we did before COVID hit.
Correct.
And so you were already working on
All true, yes.
raising funds for that, so it's not like you're,
We initially started to put the money away
yeah,
because when we owned the building, because there was no reserve funds.
yeah.
So we owned the building and we're like,
So-
well, if the roof caves in, we're SOL
You're
because.
just one
you know.
big emergency away from this.
Right, so we
Yeah.
need to start, so that's why we initially, and then when we sold the building, every year, the state, I report to the state, they ask me the question, any unexpended funds? How much? If the answer is yes, how much? Now, what are you gonna do with it? And it used to be, we're saving for potential emergencies. Well, we don't have that liability anymore. We have some, but not nearly like the city does, we as the owners, since they own the building. But we still had to say, so we just put future capital projects in. You reach a point where the lawyer goes, well, you better start doing some of those future capital projects.
Yeah, which I mean, we have done. We've spent
Exactly,
a lot of money
yes.
in the last 3 years, so.
Yes, and we're down to not much reserve. But we still have, in the special reserve fund, but we still have money in our operating fund. So again, the budget is a snapshot in time, doesn't mean you're broke. If you come in over budget, it doesn't mean you're broke. It means you had a bad year, it doesn't mean you're broke. So a few years ago,
We were
we couldn't have absorbed a deficit year. We didn't have any cash reserves to absorb a deficit year. We ran out of money every March and borrowed from the city until we got our first distribution. So, yay us, we're in a good position, but I still, we've got to find a way to not, we can't count on state funding is what I'm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can't count on state funding. We have some influence over local funding. We don't have any over state funding.
Yeah.
So, that's it.
Okay. Well, I guess that was that.
Yeah.
Anything else? Anybody want to make a motion?
I will make a motion to end this meeting.
And I will second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5:18, baby, killed it.
Oh,